Welcome to Cruise News, your daily update on everything happening at sea. Visit cruisenews.io to see today's stories and sign up for email alerts.
So if you've been watching the travel landscape lately, there's this massive recurring theme of scaling up.
Oh yeah, 100%. Scaling up is the entire game right now.
Right. But, historically, when we talked about scaling up in cruising, it just meant, well, welding another deck onto a hull, basically.
Yeah, the classic tonnage arms race. For the last decade, it was just about who could build the tallest ship and squeeze the most water slides up top.
Exactly. But that model is totally fracturing. From spring break homeport crowds to bucket list sailings and ultra-rare suites, today's stories explore how cruising is scaling up on the ground, at sea, and at the very top of the ship.
It really is hitting all three of those areas.
Yeah. So whether you're hunting for a quick spring break trip or maybe a massive 115-day global expedition or even just the most exclusive real estate on the water, you're going to see these structural forces just totally reshaping the industry. Well, let's start with the physical reality of scaling up on the ground, right? Because if you want to see that in action, you have to look at the Gulf Coast.
Oh, the numbers coming out of Port Tampa Bay are, they're almost hard to process.
They really are.
They're officially setting their all-time monthly record for cruise ship calls in March 2026. Get this, 51 ship calls in a single month.
Wow, 51. That's wild.
There are only 7 days in that entire month where a ship isn't tied up at a terminal. It's basically like playing high-stakes Tetris with floating hotels.
That's a great way to put it.
So with so much traffic concentrated like that, how are the ports physically handling this massive density of people getting on and off?
Well, it all comes down to managing what the industry calls a three-ship day.
Okay, which means...
It's exactly what it sounds like, yeah. 3 separate vessels tied alongside the terminals, all at the exact same time.
Wow.
And just to give you some context, historically, Tampa might see maybe 20 of these high-volume days across a whole year.
Right.
But for 2026, they are projecting 53.
53. Over double.
Yeah. And 10 of those are packed into March alone.
Okay, so let's ground this in reality for the listener.
Yeah.
Say you're driving in on Saturday, March 28th, 2026.
Good luck.
Right, good luck. You're trying to park at Terminal 3. You aren't just dealing with regular downtown traffic. You've got 3 Royal Caribbean Vision-class ships turning over all at once.
It's a small city of people.
Literally. You've got Grandeur of the Seas at Terminal 2 with up to 1,992 passengers. Enchantment of the Seas at Terminal 3 with 2,252. And Rhapsody of the Seas at Terminal 6 with 2,040.
The logistics of that turnaround are just staggering. I mean, managing a 3-ship day isn't just about finding a parking spot for the boats,
Right, it's way more than that.
It's like taking 3 massive Vegas resort hotels, evicting every single guest, cleaning every room, restocking all the food, and checking in a completely new set of guests.
All using one 2-lane waterfront driveway.
Exactly, and in under 8 hours.
And it's crazy because so much of that is totally invisible to the passengers. Like, you have over 6,000 people trying to get off those ships and another 6,000 trying to get on.
That's 12,000 suitcases moving through customs.
12,000. And meanwhile, there's just a constant convoy of semi-trucks loading eggs, produce, fuel, and the waste management trucks are trying to operate in that exact same footprint.
That's a highly orchestrated ballet. But the broader question is why this specific port is seeing this extreme bottleneck.
Right. Why Tampa?
Well, cruise lines are betting heavily on Gulf Coast home ports as a drive-to alternative to South Florida.
Avoiding the Miami airport chaos.
Exactly. Travelers are just exhausted by the nightmare of flying into Miami or Fort Lauderdale during peak spring break, so driving directly to the terminal is highly marketable right now.
Makes total sense.
And it's working. Tampa is projecting about 1.8 million passengers in 2026, which brings in a projected economic impact of over $648 million for West Central Florida.
Okay, I have to push back a little on that economic ceiling, though.
Yeah.
Because, yes, Tampa is pulling record numbers, but they are structurally blocked from hosting the really big megaships.
Yeah, the geography is tricky.
Right. If they can't bring in the highly lucrative Oasis or Icon-class ships, isn't their economic potential capped, even with all these passengers?
Well, that's the defining geographical challenge of Tampa. To leave that port, a ship has to sail under the Sunshine Skyway Bridge.
Right, the bridge limit.
Yeah. And that bridge only gives you about 180 feet of vertical clearance at zero tide.
And zero tide means the water is as low as it ever gets.
Exactly. So that 180 feet is an absolute immovable ceiling. There is no engineering trick for the ships. A massive Oasis-class vessel just physically will not fit.
So they literally cannot scale up by building bigger.
Nope.
The geography dictates their whole business model.
Precisely. Since they can't scale vertically, they scale horizontally. They just pack the calendar with an endless rotation of mid-sized ships.
Relentless volume.
Right. There is a long-term idea to build a new port south of the bridge in Manatee County, which would bypass the issue entirely. But that faces steep regulatory hurdles and is years away.
So for now, Tampa just maximizes frequency. And, it isn't just four-night party cruises either. Oceania Cruises is bringing the Oceania Insignia in for 3 calls that same month.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So you have these ultra-premium luxury passengers stuck in the exact same traffic grid as the college spring break crowd.
That is quite the demographic collision.
It really is.
But it highlights the limit of scaling by frequency. Eventually, you just run out of days in the month.
Right. Tampa is trapped by geography. But what happens when you remove geography as a constraint completely?
You get a totally different strategy.
Exactly. So while Tampa is scaling through volume, other parts of the industry are scaling up through sheer distance and duration.
Which brings us to Princess Cruises.
Yes, they just opened sales for their 2028 World Cruise on the Coral Princess. And this is a 115-day round-trip voyage.
115 days?
Can you imagine? You unpack your suitcase once in early January, and you don't even look at it again until May.
It's an operational behemoth, so it leaves January 3rd, 2028, and guests can get on in either Fort Lauderdale or LA.
And the route is incredible.
It really is. Roughly 36,000 nautical miles, 49 ports, 24 countries, and 5 continents.
Okay, looking at this route, it seems super strategic. So after the Panama Canal, they cross to Hawaii, Samoa, Fiji, then down through Australia and New Zealand,
Right.
then across the Indian Ocean to Mauritius, and then all the way up the west coast of Africa before hitting the Mediterranean and crossing the Atlantic.
It's a massive loop.
Yeah, but notice they're completely avoiding the traditional Suez Canal transit. They're wrapping all the way around Africa instead. Is that just a geopolitical safety play because of the Red Sea, or are they deliberately trying to hit new excursion markets?
Honestly, it's both. The geopolitical reality in the Red Sea makes long-term planning through the Suez incredibly risky right now.
Yeah, you can't sell a ticket 4 years out with that kind of uncertainty.
Exactly. Cruise lines need predictability. But the second reason is that routing up the west coast of Africa opens up totally new inventory for frequent cruisers.
Ah, keeping the veterans interested.
Right, because the main challenge of a world cruise is keeping a highly experienced clientele engaged.
Well, that actually brings up a huge logistical question. The Coral Princess holds about 2,000 guests, right?
Roughly.
Which is, interestingly, the exact same passenger capacity as those Royal Caribbean ships causing the traffic jams in Tampa.
That's a good point.
So when you have 2,000 people on board for nearly a third of a year, how does the cruise line scale up the actual destination experience? How do you keep it from just feeling like a 4-month hostage situation at the buffet line?
Well, the ship itself can't sustain the entertainment value for 115 days. It's impossible.
Right.
So the destinations have to do the heavy lifting. Princess does this through a strategy they call more ashore.
More ashore.
Yeah, the goal is to totally change the psychology of a port call. Instead of arriving at 8 a.m. and rushing everyone back on board by 4 p.m., they program overnight stays in major hubs like Cape Town and Auckland.
Oh, that makes a huge difference. And the late-night calls really stand out to me, too. They're staying late into the evening in places like Barcelona, Casablanca, Dubrovnik, Honolulu, Melbourne, and Sydney.
Right, because leaving at 11 p.m. versus 4 p.m. changes everything.
It's the difference between feeling like a rushed tourist and actually getting a culinary immersion in a foreign city.
Yeah.
You can have a real dinner ashore, see a show, and just come back whenever.
And it also changes the ship's provisioning strategy. You can't load 115 days of fresh food in Los Angeles.
Obviously not.
So they source provisions locally along the way, which means the onboard menus naturally shift to reflect the regions they're sailing through.
That's brilliant. But the more ashore thing really seems to shine with the excursions. I noticed 2 major itinerary firsts here that kind of shift the tone from a vacation to a real expedition.
Oh, definitely.
First, they've got a maiden call in Mossel Bay, South Africa. And this is tied to a UNESCO World Heritage Site with coastal caves showing evidence of early modern humans from like 160,000 years ago.
It's amazing access.
And second, for the first time ever on a Princess World cruise, They're doing dedicated safari shore excursions,
Right, so you have passengers leaving a 2,000-person ship to visit the Ecola Game Reserve, or going to the Puma Private Game Reserve to track white lions.
which is just an immense amount of ground coordination.
Okay.
But honestly, how does the business model even support this?
Okay.
Selling a 115-day ticket is a massive ask. It's so much time and money.
It is. But World Cruises function as major premium loyalty plays. Princess knows that 115 days is a very niche market.
Yeah, not everyone can take 4 months off.
Exactly. So they segment the inventory. They sell shorter chunks, ranging from 20 to 100 days, to keep occupancy high.
Smart.
But for the full voyage guests, they heavily incentivize their Captain Circle loyalty members. They offer up to $3,000 in onboard credit per stateroom.
Wow, $3,000.
Yeah, and that capital basically subsidizes those expensive safari excursions.
Well, the part I find really fascinating is the community engineering. They've already launched a dedicated 2028 World Cruise Facebook group.
Oh, yeah.
So these people are literally mingling and making friends years before they even pack a bag. So when you finally board for 4 months, you aren't stuck with 2,000 strangers. You're walking into a neighborhood.
It's proactive crowd management. A close-knit community drastically reduces onboard friction during a long trip.
Okay, so we've looked at scaling up through frequency in Tampa and scaling across 36,000 miles with Princess. Let's pivot from the macro to the extreme micro.
The very top of the ship.
Exactly. What happens when a cruise line scales up by focusing intensely on 2 rooms?
Right, so now we're talking about Margaritaville at sea,
Yes, and their newest ship, the Beachcomber.
which is the former Costa Fortuna. It's sailing in Europe right now, but it's getting a massive renovation before debuting in Port Miami in early 2027.
And the biggest architectural change they are making involves adding 2 highly limited bridge wing suites on Deck 9.
The location is the entire selling point here. These suites are on the extreme forward wings of the ship, literally directly above the navigational bridge.
It's basically like getting the owner's box at a stadium, except the stadium is navigating a stormy passage through the Caribbean.
That's exactly it.
You're getting a vantage point that is usually strictly reserved for the captain.
And the service model matches the real estate. It's intensely curated, totally concierge-led. It starts with priority embarkation and disembarkation.
Which, if we think back to that Tampa bottleneck we talked about,
Oh, yeah.
skipping past thousands of people in a terminal is a massive luxury.
It's huge. And the physical space is incredible. Sprawling indoor-outdoor living areas, oversized private terraces, residential finishes.
But it's how they program the space.
Yeah.
You get a dedicated concierge serving you breakfast and dinner out on your private terrace with a totally panoramic, unobstructed ocean view.
And maybe the coolest part, booking this suite gets you a private behind-the-scenes tour of the ship's bridge.
Wait, really?
Yeah, guests literally step down from their suite to interact with the operational nerve center of the ship.
I mean, that's not just an amenity, that's pure storytelling. Martha Brabham, their VP of design, explicitly said these aren't just premium rooms. They were designed to tell a story.
Right.
The inspiration actually comes from Jimmy Buffett's seafaring songs, specifically Captain and the Kid and Son of a Sailor. They are selling an immersive connection to the maritime lifestyle, not just square footage.
And that brings up a really important point about industry economics right now. We're seeing base cruise fares soften across the wider market.
Okay.
So to maintain margins, smaller brands are aggressively pivoting toward micro-luxury. But, Margaritaville is historically known for accessible, budget-friendly, quick weekend getaways.
Right, so how does a budget brand justify building ultra-premium suites?
It's an anchor pricing model. By creating extremely limited inventory, there are literally only 2 of these suites on the whole ship. They can monetize that exclusive access at an exorbitant premium. The revenue from those 2 high-margin suites effectively subsidizes operational costs, which lets them keep the standard lower-deck cabins competitively priced.
That's fascinating. They're proving you don't need to be a traditional luxury cruise line to capture premium spending.
Exactly. You just need to offer an experience a specific demographic is willing to pay heavily for.
It's the ultimate monetization of bragging rights. Just being able to sit at the bar and casually drop, oh yeah, I'm sleeping directly above the captain and dining on my private forward terrace.
That is powerful social currency, and it creates an aspirational halo over the whole ship. It elevates the brand perception, even for the guests staying in interior rooms.
So we've dissected 3 totally different ways the industry is growing today. We had the logistical behemoth of scaling through volume on the constrained waterfronts of Tampa. We looked at Princess scaling duration and geography by removing the pressure of time altogether. And then Margaritaville scaling up exclusivity by essentially weaponizing the scarcity of two singular suites.
Connecting all those threads really points to an interesting trajectory for the future. We're watching commercial cruising aggressively segment itself.
Yeah.
So as we look, say, 10 years down the line, I think we have to ask, will the ultimate status symbol in travel be about the sheer volume of places you can check off a map? Or is it going to be about the ultra-exclusive, behind-the-scenes access you have while getting there?
That is a fascinating prospect to mull over. If high-margin, velvet rope access like the Bridgewing Suites proves this profitable for mainstream lines, how long until we see that concept consume the entire hull?
Could the next evolution of scaling up be major cruise lines launching smaller, entirely closed-off ships, basically turning commercial cruising into private yachting experiences? It's a structural shift that could redefine who actually gets to sail. Thanks for listening to Cruise News. Visit cruisenews.io to catch up on the latest updates and sign up for free email alerts.